Malaysia records highest COVID-19 deaths today. Seremban plays under conditional MCO from Thursday. Hello and good evening. You're watching News at 10 with me, Mohammed Amin Carlos. Well, a total of 1,054 new cases reported as of noon today, making the current total positive cases recorded in Malaysia to 34,393 cases. Well, currently there are 10,135 active cases. Well, 875 individuals were recovered and discharged from hospitals today, making the total recovery in the country to 23,995 cases, which is 69.8% of the cumulative case. According to Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, of the new cases reported today, 14 of them are imported cases involving 3 Malaysians and 11 foreigners.
11 bukan warga negara yang tiba dari negara Korea Selatan 4 kes, Jepun 2 kes, Filipina 2 kes, Uzbekistan 1 kes, negara China 1 kes, Hong Kong 1 kes, Nepal 1 kes, United Kingdom 1 kes dan Maldives 1 kes. Daripada 1,040 kes penularan di dalam negara pula, 7 kes merupakan pengunjung yang pulang dari negeri Sabah. Ini menjadikan jumlah kes dilaporkan mempunyai sejarah perjalanan ke Sabah sejak 20 September 2020 adalah sebanyak 478 kes.
As of now, 94 cases are being treated in ICU, with 32 of them requiring breathing support. 12 deaths were also recorded in the span of 24 hours, making it the highest death count in a day. The new figures raise the total mortality in the country to 263 cases. In a related development, 2 new clusters are identified today, the Ceregas cluster and Permatan cluster. Ceregas cluster was detected in Seremban and Permatan cluster was detected in Kulim, Seberang Perai Tengah, Seberang Perai Utara and Seberang Perai Timur. The index case for Ceregas cluster, the 30,751st case, was tested positive for COVID-19 on 29th October.
Saringan kontak rapat telah mengesan sebanyak 11 lagi kes positif COVID-19. Kes-kes tersebut telah dimasukkan ke Hospital Rembau, Hospital Tampin dan juga Hospital Tuanku Jaafar Seremban. Sehingga 3 November 2020, sejumlah 144 individu telah disaring, di mana 12 kes dikesan positif COVID-19 termasuk 10 kes baru pada hari ini. 126 individu dikesan negatif dan 6 individu masih menunggu keputusan.
For Permatan cluster, the index case was detected positive on 31st October due to severe acute respiratory infection at a private medical institution. The index case was transferred to Pulau Pinang Hospital's ICU. 1,174 people were screened, 7 revealed to be positive and the remaining turned out negative. Well, the usage of vitamin C intravenous injection is not part of COVID-19 treatment protocol in Malaysia due to a lack of scientific evidence. And Deputy Health Minister Dr. Noor Azmi Ghazali said more studies on the efficacy of vitamin C intravenous injections on COVID-19 patients were needed before it could be employed.
Ini adalah kerana berdasarkan kajian dan bukti saintifik yang telah dijalankan di luar negara, data keberkesanan penggunaan suntikan intravena vitamin C terhadap penyakit COVID-19 masih lagi tidak mencukupi dan memerlukan kajian yang lebih mendalam. Oleh yang demikian, pemberian suntikan vitamin C juga tidak dimasukkan di dalam protokol rawatan COVID-19 di negara-negara lain seperti Singapura dan juga Australia.
Dato Dr. Noor Azmi was replying to a question from Kuala Kedah MP Dr. Azman Ismail at the Dewan Rakyat. He added that while findings from a retrospective study conducted by Health Ministry personnel showed that high doses of vitamin C had reduced mortality rates and resulted in shorter hospital stays, it was too small of a cohort to be considered as a strong study. The minister also said the Health Ministry always gave attention to the COVID-19 treatment developments to ensure the best and safest treatment for all patients in the country. Well, the Seremban district of Negeri Sembilan will come under a Conditional Movement Control Order CMCO for 2 weeks beginning 5th November. Well, Senior Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the decision was made by the National Security Council following the increase of COVID-19 cases in the area.
Pelaksanaan PKPB ini akan meliputi 9 mukim seperti berikut: Ampangan, Seremban, Bandar Seremban, Labu, Rantau, Rasah, Setul, Pantai dan Lenggeng.
The senior minister added the restrictions will be the same as those imposed on the Klang Valley that is also under a CMCO, with schools to be closed and inter-district travel limited to authorized work purposes. However, interstate travel between Negeri Sembilan and the Klang Valley for work purposes is still permitted, but with the appropriate authorization. Meanwhile, the Enhanced Movement Control Order EMCO imposed on Seberang Perai Prison and staff quarters in Pulau Pinang is extended to 18th November. He said the move was made as there were still positive cases reported in the area as of yesterday. As for the EMCO in the North Zone and Selangor prisons, which was enforced beginning 22nd October, the directive will end tomorrow according to schedule. Well, a media staffer and an aide to a senator were found COVID-19 positive during tests conducted in Parliament last Wednesday and Friday. Parliament Chief Administrator Dato Khamis Samin said the Health Ministry has taken the appropriate follow-up action soon after the test results were obtained. In a statement released, Dato Khamis Samin said the swab tests conducted by the Health Ministry before the latest Dewan Rakyat session began yesterday involved all officers and staff of Parliament, including auxiliary police, official media personnel and members of Parliament. However, he said all Parliament staff had been tested negative. Dato Khamis added that the Parliament Authority had taken the necessary measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 to ensure the smooth conduct of proceedings and tabling of Budget 2021 on Friday. The Parliament Chief Administrator was commenting on news reports yesterday about certain individuals on duty in Parliament being found COVID-19 positive. Environment and Water, or KASA Minister Dato Sri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man says clinical waste has increased by 20% since the COVID-19 outbreak in the country. Well, he said waste like personal protective equipment or PPEs, which were categorized as clinical waste after being used for handling of COVID-19 patients, were gathered and disposed at clinical waste disposal plants with environmental pollution control technology. Elaborating further on the matter at the Parliament today, the Minister said under the Environmental Quality Regulations for Schedule Waste 2005, waste such as disposable plastic materials generated from government-gazetted health facilities and COVID-19 quarantine centres are categorised as schedule wastes under the code SW404, which are pathogenic waste, clinical waste or quarantine materials. He also said that clinical waste must be disposed at stipulated premises licensed by the Department of Environment.
Walau bagaimanapun buangan seperti plastik, pelitup muka, pakai buang yang digunakan pakai oleh orang awam di premis seperti pasar basah, pasar raya, pejabat, kilang dan seumpamanya yang digunakan bagi tujuan pelindungan diri pada jangkitan adalah dikategorikan sebagai buangan domestik dan tidak dikategorikan sebagai sisa klinikal atau buangan terjadual.
The Minister added that these wastes were managed by local governments under the Housing and Local Government Ministry. Well, meanwhile, Dato Sri Tuan Ibrahim said the proposed amendments to the Water Services Industry Act 2006 or Act 655 to provide heavier punishments on environmental criminals are awaiting approval from the Cabinet. Well, he said the amendments were expected to be tabled in Parliament next year. Among the proposed amendments are to increase the fine from 100,000 ringgit to 10 million ringgit and jail sentence from 1 year to 15 years. Apart from that, amendments would also be made to empower the police to take enforcement action under the two acts. Speaking on the action against river polluters, Dato' Sri Tuan Ibrahim said 61 premises owners were taken to court and fined 1.489 million ringgit between 1st January and 30th September for committing offences related to water pollution and scheduled waste management.
5,700 tindakan undang-undang ke atas 2,323 premis yang dapati tidak mematuhi perundangan berkaitan pengurusan buangan terjadual. Ini merangkumi 4,564 kompaun, 1,130 notis arahan, 2 premis digantung lesen dan 4 penyediaan kertas siasatan untuk tindakan pendakwaan.
Dato' Sri Tuan Ibrahim said this in reply to a question from Rompin MP, Dato' Sri Hassan Arifin, who wanted to know the number of companies prosecuted for causing river pollution resulting in water supply disruption. Coming up next, police smash Macau scam involving 11 million ringgit losses. Well, a 19-year-old student is in remand for 7 days to facilitate investigation on the murder of her friend Siti Nur Surya Ismail 2 days ago. Well, the remand order issued by Magistrate Engku Nurul Ain Engku Muda at Marang Magistrates Court begins today until next Monday. Well, the suspect actually arrived at the court at about 10 a.m. this morning and was escorted by 2 policemen. And she was arrested yesterday at the Telemong police station when she turned up for questioning with her mother. A video recording of the suspect near the victim's house had gone viral since yesterday after the body of Siti Nur Surya, 19, with slash wounds on the body and left hand severed was found in her house by her 15-year-old sister at 2:30 p.m. last Sunday. Now, belongings from Siti Nur Surya's house were also reported missing, but they were later recovered from the suspect's house during follow-up investigations. Well, police have smashed a Macau scam syndicate which was responsible for 76 cheating cases involving 11 million ringgit after they raided a condominium in Sri Petaling, Kuala Lumpur. And Perak Acting Police Chief Dato' Goh Boon Keng said 22 Malaysians, including 4 women aged between 18 and 27, were nabbed in the operation at 5 p.m. on 30th October, jointly conducted by personnel from the Perak and Bukit Aman Commercial Crime Investigation Departments. Dato' Goh explained that the 2-year-old syndicate was believed to be operating overseas previously but returned to Malaysia because of the COVID-19 pandemic and could not leave the country due to the movement control order.
Sindiket ini kemungkinan bertanggungjawab ke atas sejumlah 76 kes penipuan Macau scam yang melibatkan jumlah kerugian 11 juta ringgit Malaysia. So, ini merupakan kali pertama polis Malaysia ini menumpaskan sindiket Macau scam daripada tempatan Malaysia yang melakukan penipuan ke atas mangsa-mangsa di Malaysia.
He said the Special Operations Squad had been keeping surveillance on the syndicate for a week after a woman in Bandar Saiba reported that she had been conned. Also seized during the operation were various equipment including 34 handphones, laptop computers and prepared scripts for conversation in several languages to cheat victims. Dato' Goh said police would apply to extend the 4-day remand of the 22 suspects, which expires today. Well, 2 directors of a company that sells and repair construction machinery were charged in the Selayang Sessions Court in Selangor today with 2 counts of committing mischief by disposing and releasing waste containing hazardous materials into Sungai Gong, Rawang. Chai Kin Sang, 61, and his son Chai Wern Teck, 31, pleaded not guilty to both the charges, which were read out before Judge Mazia Johari Muhammad Tajuddin. Well, on the first count, the 2 men were alleged to have committed mischief by causing waste products containing hazardous materials from the premises of FG Auto Parts Sendirian Berhad to be disposed of into a waterway that would flow into Sungai Gong, despite knowing that it would cause water shortage for human consumption. They were charged with committing the offence at the company premises in Batu Arang, Rawang between 17 and 19 October. The charge, framed under Section 430 of the Penal Code, provides an imprisonment of up to 30 years or fine or both if found guilty. On the second count, they were jointly charged with releasing waste containing hazardous material from a similar workshop into a waterway that would flow into the same river without a license at the same place and time. It was framed under Section 25, subsection 1 of the Environmental Quality Act 1974, which provides for a maximum fine of 100,000 ringgit or imprisonment of up to 5 years or both upon conviction. Now, the court allowed both the accused to be released on bail of 400,000 ringgit with one surety and to report themselves at the nearest police station once a month. The court also set 16 December for mention and submission of documents. Bank Negara Malaysia's BNM Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, has decided to maintain the overnight policy rate, or OPR, at 1.75% as the global economy continues to recover, led by improvements in manufacturing and export activity. In a statement today, the central bank said the decision was made after the latest indicators in Malaysia pointed towards significant improvement in economic activity in the third quarter. Now, BNM added the latest indicators show that economic activity picked up in most advanced and regional economies, with a more pronounced recovery momentum can be seen in China. However, the sudden increase of COVID-19 cases have caused some major economies to reintroduce containment measures, making the global economic recovery will likely remain uneven in the near term. For Malaysia, economy activities showed a prominent increase on the third quarter of 2020. But with the introduction of targeted measures to contain COVID-19 spread in several states, the recovery momentum is likely to be affected at the fourth quarter. However, growth for the year 2020 is expected to be within the earlier forecasted range. The headline inflation is likely to average negative this year, given the low oil price in the market. The cumulative 125 basis points reduction in the OPR this year will continue to provide stimulus to the economy. The Human Resources Ministry, through the Labour Department, has taken the initiative to hold discussions with the management of Malindo Air today, following the retrenchment of the airline's employees. Its Minister, Dato Sri M. Saravanan, said the meeting, which also involved the Industrial Relations Department and the Social Security Organisation, SOCSO, was held to discuss issues related to compliance with labour laws and measures to assist the affected employees. Speaking at the Parliament today, Dato Sri Saravanan said as of 2nd November, the Industrial Relations Department has received 31 such cases lodged by the affected Malindo Air employees. And of the total, 24 cases had been resolved through negotiations, with 7 cases still pending.
Bagi pekerja-pekerja yang telah ditamatkan perkhidmatan berikutan pandemik COVID-19 dan merasakan penamatan perkhidmatan tersebut adalah tidak adil dan tanpa alasan yang munasabah, maka pekerja tersebut mempunyai hak untuk memfailkan representasi pemulihan kerja di bawah Seksyen 20 Akta Perhubungan Perusahaan 1967 yang membolehkan pekerja tersebut dipulihkan ke pekerjaan asal.
Dato Saravanan added that the affected workers were also eligible for other benefits such as the early re-employment allowance, reduced income allowance, training allowance, training fee and job search allowance. In addition, the minister said the retrenched workers could also register with My Future Jobs portal, and an employment portal that helps them secure jobs or undergo skills training in various fields under the Gerak Insan Gemilang gig program to help them generate temporary income and stay afloat while looking for new permanent jobs. Still ahead, voting starts in the US of A. Well, a huge manhunt is underway after gunmen opened fire at multiple locations across central Vienna, killing at least 4 people in what Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz described as a repulsive terror attack. Now, one of the suspected killers, identified as Daesh Group sympathizer, was shot dead by police, who said they were searching for at least one more assailant still at large. Now, police said the shooting rampage in 6 locations, including near a synagogue and the world-famous Opera House in the heart of Vienna on Monday, Monday evening was carried out by several suspects armed with rifles. Helicopters were flying overhead as police sealed off the city in the hunt for other attackers, while neighboring counties stepped up border checks. The shooting erupted just hours before Austria was to reimpose a COVID-19 lockdown, with people out in bars and restaurants enjoying a final night out. Well, 2 men and 2 women were killed in the attack, while about 15 more have been injured, 7 seriously. Interior Minister Karl Nehammer urged Vienna residents to remain in their homes and keep away from all public places or public transport. EU Council Chief Charles Michel tweeted that the bloc strongly condemns this cowardly act. Well, voters in Dixville Notch, a village of 12 residents in the U.S. state of New Hampshire, kicked off Election Day at the stroke of midnight on Tuesday by voting unanimously for Democratic nominee Joe Biden. Now, the vote and count only took a few minutes, with 5 votes for Biden and none for President Donald Trump, who is seeking a second term. Well, the tiny northeastern town in the middle of the forest near the Canadian border has traditionally voted first in the nation since 1960. Neighboring village Misfield also begins voting at midnight, but a third village in the area, which typically follows the same tradition, cancel overnight voting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Electoral laws in New Hampshire also municipalities with fewer than 100 residents to open their polling stations at midnight and to close them when all registered voters have fulfilled their civic duty. Most polling stations on the East Coast will open at 6 or 7 a.m. on Tuesday. But with a huge expansion in mail-in voting to safeguard against the COVID-19 pandemic, a record of nearly 100 million people have already cast ballots. Well, stunned students demonstrated outside Kabul University on Tuesday after at least 22 people were killed in a brutal on-campus attack claimed by the Daesh group. While holding banners stating, "Stop killing us," the small gathering came as Afghanistan observed a national day of mourning and the first funerals were expected. Well, Monday's assault at the popular university near central Kabul saw 3 attackers, one of whom blew himself up, rampaged through the campus, shooting students in their classrooms. Daesh also claimed a similar attack on an educational center in Kabul less than 2 weeks ago that killed 24 people. Zalmay Khalilzad, the U.S. Special Envoy who helped bring the warring Taliban and Kabul government together for talks, urged the 2 sides to accelerate a potential and political settlement. Now, President Ashraf Ghani has vowed to take revenge for the assault, with an investigation underway to undermine how the gunmen entered the university with weapons. In sports, Ajax missing key players Bayern Seoul out of Champions League after virus setback. Well, Real Madrid coach Zinedine Zidane said his team are looking at their Champions League clash with Inter Milan as a must-win game. The Spanish champions prop up Group B with 1 point from 2 matches, having lost 3-2 to visitors Shakhtar Donetsk after snatching a 2-all draw at Borussia Mönchengladbach last week. After failing to pick up a win in their first 2 matches in the competition, Zidane stressed that Real cannot afford another defeat. Madrid have struggled in an attacking force since the trio of Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale and Karim Benzema was disbanded, with only the France striker remaining. Zidane will be without defender Eder Militao, who tested positive for COVID-19. He also said that the squad will be without fullbacks Alvaro Odriozola, Dani Carvajal and Nacho. Real, who are bottom of Champions League Group B, host third-placed Inter at the Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium. Joel Matip and Naby Keita have returned to Liverpool first team training, but manager Jurgen Klopp is yet to decide if both will be available for tomorrow's Champions League encounter with the Italian side Atalanta. Matip is poised to hand Liverpool a timely fitness boost as Klopp hopes to navigate his squad through a central defence injury crisis with both Fabinho and Virgil van Dijk out of contention. Van Dijk underwent a successful knee surgery last week after damaging his ligaments against Everton. Keita is also set to be part of the travelling group to Bergamo for Liverpool's third match in Champions League Group D, but fellow midfielder Thiago Alcantara is yet to return to training. Atalanta, renowned for their high-octane pressing style under coach Gianpiero Gasperini, defied expectations last season to reach the Champions League quarter-finals. Klopp said Atalanta are Liverpool's biggest challenge in Europe so far and compared to the Italian outfit to Premier League's Leeds United. Ajax Amsterdam will have only 17 players available for their next Champions League clash against Midtjylland in Denmark after several players had to be left behind because of positive COVID-19 cases and tests. Now, despite confirming the matter, coach Erik ten Hag said he could not speak about individual cases because of privacy laws. Skipper Dusan Tadic, goalkeeper Andre Onana and midfielders Davy Klaassen and Ryan Gravenberch were among those who stayed at home, while backup goalkeepers Martin Stekelenburg and Dominic Kotarski also did not travel, leaving the club with just one goalkeeper, Kel Scherpen, for the match at Herning. The 20-year-old has yet to debut for the club. The coach said Ajax players were tested on Monday and the club had been in discussion through the day with various authorities about who could travel to Denmark. He also said he was hopeful some of those left behind might be allowed to travel on Tuesday to join up with the rest of the squad as Ajax look for their first win in Group D. Meanwhile, in the Bayern Munich squad, defender Niklas Süle has tested positive for COVID-19 and gone into home isolation on the eve of their Champions League match at Salzburg. The 25-year-old Germany centre-back is the second Bayern player to be pulled out of action after Serge Gnabry false positive tests in October. Süle had missed much of last season due to cruciate ligament injury and only returned to action in the summer. Bayern coach Hansi Flick said the players and staff were now tested on a daily basis. Bayern is on top of Group A after winning the first and second group matches against Atletico Madrid and Lokomotiv Moscow. Well, Wales manager and Manchester United great Ryan Giggs has been arrested on suspicion of assault. Well, the Football Association of Wales, the FAW, issued a statement saying it is aware of an alleged incident involving the national team manager Ryan Giggs, but refused to make further comment at this current time. The Sun newspaper said police were called to the 46-year-old Giggs' home late on Sunday after reports of a disturbance. The newspaper said Giggs was arrested and questioned on suspicion of actual bodily harm and assault. Wales have cancelled Tuesday's press conference when Giggs was due to name his squad for the friendly against the USA and Nations League fixtures with the Republic of Ireland and Finland later this month. Giggs was appointed Wales manager in January 2018 after a stellar playing career in which he won 13 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, 4 FA Cups and 3 League Cups with Manchester United, and was capped 64 times for Wales. And that's it from us this evening. In our top story, Malaysia records highest COVID-19 deaths today. Join us for updates at noon at 12:30 tomorrow. I'm Amin Carlos. Thanks for watching. Good night.